Hi, Julia. Thanks for joining us. So the first question, Court Square in Long Island City has seen significant residential development with tens of thousands of new residents and large buildings continue to be built. Although the city has tried to balance the unplanned residential development of Long Island City by promising Queens Public Library to reopen the closed library branch in our neighborhood and budgeting $60 million for the new elementary school, there really hasn't been any real progress or updates from the SCA or Queens Public Library on the school or library. So, as the council member that would represent the neighborhood, what concrete specific steps can you do to prevent these scenarios from occurring in the future? And now that we're in the current situation, what concrete specific steps could you do to ensure that the city actually delivers its promise to reopen the library branch in the new elementary school?
Sure, absolutely. I think that these are issues that I've heard from folks in Court Square, and it's been going on for years. I remember, it must have been 2 years ago because we were still in person, attending a meeting at the Court Square Library, really trying to figure out what actions Queens Public Library, that Councilmember Van Bramer's office, what the city was going to do, and there was talk of temporary mobile libraries and all that, but the real crux of the issue wasn't necessarily lack of access to books, more so as it was lack of access to the computers and the internet service, the meeting spaces, the places for, young parents to bring their kids for programming and things like that. And I think that making sure that going forward that we do fight to not only preserve what spaces we have, because we do need to get the Court Square Library back open in a solid, permanent place. And that's something that I would want to work with the community to identify the space. I think that I don't know if they decided on a space yet. I do remember at those meetings hearing that there were a few spaces that they were talking about. But making sure that it opens quickly has to be a priority. When it comes to schools, a big issue that we've been having, and I actually wrote an op-ed about this a few weeks ago. You can find it on my website under our plans. I believe this would be under our plans for land use. I'm very, very focused on making sure that we do not allow the continued overdevelopment of District 26 when it comes to residential development at the expense of our infrastructure. And I consider things like schools an integral part of this infrastructure. Because when we continue to build all of these residential places, and this is a great neighborhood, of course, people want to come and put down roots and start their families here. But if we don't have enough school seats, it's really going to be a huge issue. So I do want to work with the SCA. That does need to be a priority coming out of this pandemic, not just building that one school that we've been talking about in Court Square, but building more, making sure that we are building enough schools and that we're funding them so that they can hire enough teachers for us to have adequately sized classes. We can't continue to have these 25, 30 student classes where the teachers don't have the ability to provide each student with the attention that they need for their education, both academically and their social emotional education. We do need to have those smaller class sizes. It's been proven that that is what is most effective at giving students the best education they can have. And although you didn't ask this, this is also something that I've been hearing a lot when I speak with folks in the area. We need to get more green space and parks in the area. District 26 has some of the most beautiful parks along the waterfront. We have, the Gantry Park, we have Queensbridge Park, Rainey Park, Socrates Sculpture Park, all these great parks, but everything is sort of kept over on the waterfront. Once you move inland, there's really not as much. We have some playgrounds, but not really much space for people to go and relax and gather. And that is also going to be a priority of mine, working with the community to identify spaces for us to put in parks. It will not only improve people's quality of life, because frankly, we've all been cooped up for quite some time and can use some outdoor space, but it's also better for us in the long run when it comes to environmental justice and a Green New Deal. Parks have been shown to lower our carbon footprint, and that does have to be a big priority of ours going forward.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. The second question is, District 26 is made up of diverse neighborhoods, many that are segregated. Today families in one neighborhood can live, eat, work, and send their kids to different schools than other families within the district. Since these communities often don't intersect, you end up with perspectives from one neighborhood describing Long Island City as filled with ghost towers and nobody living there, and then another perspective describing Long Island City as overcrowded, the lack of public space, schools, sewage. So, as the elected official representing the overall district, how do you reconcile these perspectives in different communities to ensure kind of better connectivity, but also just overall representation for the district?
Right. And I think, our different neighborhoods and the diversity in our neighborhoods are kind of what makes this such an interesting and dynamic district. We really do have, you know, areas that maybe people don't interact as much. And I think that we can work together to create more interactions between the neighborhoods. But realistically, the perspectives of someone not within a neighborhood, of course, everyone's perspective should be heard and taken into account. But especially when, as you said, talking about Long Island City, the people who are living there, who are the ones who are, feeling the overcrowding, of course, that's an important perspective and should be paramount if the conversation is about that part of Long Island City. Um, I think that we can definitely do work to try to encourage people from across the district to interact more. Yourself as a community board member, I think that community board is a great organization to really team up with as council member to do some of that outreach because people on the community board are from all the different areas. And we can work together to figure out what programming or events we can put together so that there isn't such a divide, from Long Island City to Sunnyside or to, Astoria, although I know that's, not CB2. But really working together to figure out how we can unify this district and make sure that everyone is working together, gets to know each other. I think it can benefit everyone because, as you said, there's great diversity, and I think that there's a real opportunity for people to get to know other cultures, get to know folks from different backgrounds, simply by just going, a mile in one direction within your same district. So I definitely think that when we're governing, of course, let's listen to everyone. Everyone's voice is important, but let's really also work with civic groups and other neighborhood organizations when we're coming up with plans and ideas for those specific areas. But in general, I would like to see us create more programming to bring folks across the district together in social ways, in community ways, and in whatever ways make sense for folks.
Oh, that's great. No, thank you. So we have just two more questions. So this third question is, when Court Square was first envisioned, it was meant to be a commercial area and an extension of Midtown East. However, the development ended up being largely residential with a lot of large high rises. Today, Court Square is being positioned as more of a mixed use neighborhood, right? With significant commercial development like the Jacks, which is about 1 million square foot, and InnoLabs, a bio life science hub, and Citibank Tower Stone Place. So, what are your perspectives on diversifying the building mixes for commercial businesses within Court Square specifically, and if applicable, with what government policy, tools, or incentives, or otherwise?
Sure. So I think it's a good idea to really ensure that we do have that good mix of residential and commercial. A big thing coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic is the fact that so many people in our community have lost their jobs. So having commercial spaces available will actually help with some of the ideas I have in tackling that issue. With the buildings that we have currently right now, as you said, things are biotech, things are office space. I think that we can work to incentivize with tax incentives companies to come with enforceable promises. And I really emphasize the word enforceable here, promises that they are going to hire a certain percentage from local populations, whether it be directly from Court Square or the surrounding zip codes, and make sure that they're hiring not just folks who have master's degrees or even bachelor's degrees, but folks with their high school diploma and their GED. We also need to create jobs at those levels as well. So I think that if we can really work with companies that are looking to put down roots, perhaps startups or companies that are just coming out of that startup phase, I think that this is a great neighborhood for people to get into. The reverse commute into Long Island City, if you live in other parts of the city, is easier. And having folks locally who can just jump on a bus or walk or bike over is going to be huge for really addressing the fact that we also have very overcrowded subways that go into the city in normal times. I think that we can really work with the companies in that way. I would also point out that not necessarily in Court Square, but like just outside of it, kind of heading more towards Sunnyside Yards, there are areas that are very specifically zoned only for industrial and manufacturing type uses. I think that those are also areas that we can use in this way of incentivizing companies to come, and also working with our unions. I mean, we have a great union community in New York City. They do provide a lot of job training, apprenticeship programs, but we do need to work with them to make sure that there is work for them and for their members to do, whether it be retrofitting buildings, rehabbing buildings, or even just, creating different spaces, or giving them space to continue to train their members. I think that that would be a really good use of those specifically zoned spaces as well.
Okay, great. So the last question is, I know back in March you were asked, the question is, who would be your number two ranked choice vote within this election, right? Which at the time, I think you were still discovering and meeting with other candidates. I don't know if you have a candidate today. If not, that's okay. The bonus question would be, who would be your ranked choice vote for the next mayor of New York? I think that would be helpful for folks. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. So I actually, thought about who would be my number two. And the fact of the matter is, I think that people in District 26, one of the big reasons I think that we have such a big race in this district is the fact that our neighbors are so involved and, interested and dedicated. So I, as a candidate, am asking people to vote for me. I'm asking for people to support me if they share my vision. I don't want to suggest that I know best who else they should be supporting. I think that a lot of people that I speak to are doing the research, are speaking with candidates. So I don't want to definitely say, who my number two is. But what I will say is that I highly encourage every single person in District 26 to take advantage of the new ranked choice voting system. You can vote for up to 5 people. So whereas 15 candidates may seem like a lot, if you vote for 5 out of 15, you can choose a third of the people running to vote for, rank them in your order of preference, really, figure out what it is you're looking for in a candidate and vote that way. This is a great opportunity. It's enhanced democracy. Your vote really will go a lot further if you do take advantage of this. And not just for council, but of course, yes, for mayor. Um, I think that there are also a lot of great candidates, and I'm also very heartened to see a lot of women running, women of color. I have been, a big fan of Diane Morales. I've heard a lot of great things and seen a lot of interesting things coming from Catherine Garcia. People that I know who have worked with her in the past speak very highly of her management style. Maya Wiley is also someone whose policy platform I think has been very strong, and she's been constantly rolling out new ideas. But again, this is something where I think, regardless of what I think, I want people to take the time, however they can, whether it's watching forums, watching debates that they're doing, reading in the paper, just do the research and make sure that you do vote and that you do ideally vote for all, use all 5 choices that you can make in our new ranked choice voting system to make sure that not just your next council member, but that your next mayor does accurately and fully reflect what it is you want to see the future of New York City and District 26 to look like.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.